who served from the shadows the needs of kings and countries. In Europe, the role of the money changer became a shadowy one, being the domain of the exiled. Because of the networking nature of Jewish families, they took control of this profession. 7 generations of the Rothschilds have been involved in the banking business. The Rothschilds distinguished themselves as the most famous of all European banking dynasties. For some 200 years, they exerted great influence on the economic and indirectly the political history of Europe. Lionel de Rothschild.
Remember that all the little principalities there had different currencies and coinage, and so someone with a good memory and a quick wit could learn to do coin exchange and currency exchange.
250 years ago, Major Rothschild grew up in the Jew Street in Frankfurt, a place of cramped and subhuman conditions referred to as the ghetto, from where the modern word ghetto was derived. Major Rothschild became one of Frankfurt's richest Jews. Despite this, he was confined to the impoverished Yangasso every night. During the American Revolution, Prince Wilhelm made great profits by forcing the peasants into fighting the British wars against the American colonists. However, he was paid in English currency and had to turn to Major Rothschild to convert it to his local currency. When Napoleon had overrun Prussia, Prince Wilhelm fled, leaving his fortune to be hid among the Rothschild investments. The Rothschilds' enterprise now spread across the cities of Europe, run by Major Rothschild's sons. Nathan Rothschild, one of the 5 sons, had inherited his father's gift. He was sent to England to tap its industrial might and supply Europe with goods. Napoleon's tight blockade proved, however, to be a major obstacle to him. The Rothschilds hence devised an ingenious courier system, which hid delicate financial papers and gold away from Napoleon's blockades. The contributions of the Rothschilds' money to the economy of Britain was impossible to ignore. And so, at Waterloo, it was a Rothschild-financed army that crushed Napoleon. The Rothschilds made an enormous fortune from the war, and more importantly, amassed great influence and power in the whole of Europe. Over 400 billion US dollars are in circulation. It remains the most popular currency in the world. On every American dollar is the signature of Mary Eileen Withrow, the Treasurer of the United States.
In credit of the United States government. We want people to believe in it. We want them to feel they can trust it. People will use what they can trust.
Benjamin Franklin is one of the most significant faces on the American $1 bill. Born in 1706 into a poor family of 10, at the age of 12 he was apprenticed to a printer. Unknown to many, Benjamin Franklin was the most powerful hand in the introduction of paper money in the US. The problem with America's economy was due to the tax, which had to be paid to the British masters in silver. This depletion created a severe shortage and a deflation of the currency. Benjamin Franklin saw an opportunity to profit from the economic plague and made a proposition to the US government to introduce paper money on a full scale. The contract was issued, and Benjamin Franklin's power and influence grew, an influence with Masonic ends.
To success in the printing business is to get the contract for printing money. You don't even have to charge, just take care of the scrap.
By 1760, the printing of paper money was banned, and England demanded their taxes in coins. Benjamin Franklin was a clear loser where England was concerned, and he used his power and position with the government to create one of America's greatest conspiracies, the War of American Independence. A war that freed America of British dominance. A war that introduced a new market for its founders, namely Benjamin Franklin. In 1776, paper money was started up once again, and it is this money that was used to finance the war against Britain. Richard Doty of the Smithsonian.
As long as the revolution appeared to be going well, continental currency or the continental dollar held up value fairly well against real coins. But when the war went on indefinitely, the value of it began to drop.
With overprinting and the soaring of counterfeiting, inflation took its toll. In fact, inflation became so high that even counterfeiting stopped as the money lost all value. 80 years passed until paper currency was tried again in America. Benjamin Franklin, however, left more than his face on the US currency. He left the symbol of Masonry, the all-seeing eye. An adequate supply of money is indispensable to the so-called civilized world. Without money, industry would grind to a halt. The entire economic web would freeze. The only survivors would be self-dependent tribes and families. Money is truly the blood of society. It is the means of all trade. It is a measure and the instrument by which commodities are exchanged.
We want them to feel they can trust it. People will use what they can
Money
trust.
circulation in a country is regulated by specialist bodies, usually government-based. If too much money is made, then money loses its value, causing what we know as inflation. Prices soar to compensate, interest rates soar even higher, and the country is left in financial chaos. On the other hand, shortage of money has effects that are equally devastating. Testimony to this is the Great American Depression of the 1930s. In the 1930s, America did not lack industrial capacity, fertile land, skilled workers, or entrepreneurial businessmen. It had an extensive and highly efficient transportation system in the form of railways, network roads, and inland and outland waterways. Communication between regions and localities were the best in the world, utilizing telephones, teletype, radio, and a well-organized government operating mailing system. No war had ravaged the cities or the countryside. No pestilence weakened the population, nor had famines stalked the land. The United States of America lacked only one thing: an adequate supply of money to carry on trade and commerce. In the early 1930s, bankers, the only source of new money, had refused loans to new industries, stores and farms. Payments on existing loans were required, and money rapidly declined from circulation. Goods lay in shop windows. Jobs were waiting to be done. The money drought brought an entire nation to a standstill. The greedy bankers had put America and Americans into depression. The bankers' plot had been successful. They were now the sole benefactors, accumulating thousands of homes, farms, and business properties. It was World War II that brought the Depression to a sudden end. The uncooperative bankers of peaceful times had suddenly become cooperative with billions to spare to the military. A nation that only 2 years ago could not produce food for sale now suddenly bombarded German and Japanese soil with expensive complementary missiles. The bankers' artificial creation of a money shortage had left a nation